Welcome back to Danny Rant. Today we have a very special guest. We have none other than Checkers or DJ Checkers. How are you today, Checkers?
I love the intros because I've done a potties in the past. You're like, oh, really big episode today. And the next week, another big episode today. And you're like, geez, when are we doing a small one? It's the same intro every time. No, it's good.
We don't do small ones, my man.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's good. Yeah, no, good to be here. Good to see you. Been watching the content, bloody blow up everywhere.
Appreciate that.
And before the content even blew up, I was watching you blow up nightclubs and music flyers and everything else. So
Back in the Dizzy.
yeah, it's a bit of a similar progression to what I took myself. So out of the music into the content. So
For those that don't know you as DJ Checkers, you're also one half or one part of Marmalade.
175th. I don't know. We have so many people that float in and out of our content. But yeah, Marmalade, which is, I guess, generically be myself and Shrey. And we make like footy content and sports content. And then sometimes we have all sorts of people pop in and out of our videos. So for some reason, we go out with a group of mates and we're like, oh, it's the Marmalade group. It's the Marmalade boys.
Yeah.
And I was like, where does it end? But yeah.
I'd love to go into that deeper at the end because I find it super interesting and I don't actually know the story. But before you started that, you actually were hospitality based and you were a DJ at a venue in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your sort of beginning, like cutting your teeth in the hospitality industry in Adelaide?
Yeah. Well, people will never believe it. I actually went to university. You can take a stab at which degree I was doing, but
Arts?
that's fair. No, I was doing nutrition.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy considering the content we make now. But I wasn't really digging it too much. I got offered a job in a pub in Adelaide, just like turned 18. Offered a job in the pub in Hindley Street. So it was like the main centre of Adelaide where all the stuff goes down, the King Street of Adelaide. And it was only a smaller pub.
It could be crazier than King Street. It's fucking pretty wild in Hindley Street.
Well, so yeah, it's only like all the clubs in Adelaide all in the one street. There's no spread. You just like, your Revs is there, your Cloud's there. It's all in the one spot. So I was in one of the smaller pubs. It was just more like a traditional sport front bar type thing with some gaming machines, but was always on the street and just fell in love with like the music industry as such. Walking to and from work, like, you know, leaving work at like 4 a.m. and walking down the strip and seeing everything going on. And then like on your nights off, you'd go out to the strip and just fell in love with like that industry, that DJ scene, wanted to be in that industry more. Started doing like graphic artwork for the pubs just to help their socials out. Started helping come up with ideas for events at the pub or put on little shows. And that was like early days. I was only freshly 18. I was hadn't played any club gigs. Might have done a couple of house parties at that point. And then I think I picked up a local pub to my house. Was doing like, you know, those pubs that tend to like nightclubs at night. It was like,
yeah, of course, yeah.
You can have dinner there at 7 p.m, but then you come back at 3 a.m. and there'd be a heap of cookers there.
Yeah, exactly. You're cooking in the kitchen, cooking on the dance floor.
Yeah, so it was sort of like the local place where I go for a feed with the boys, and then early in the morning it turns to a nightclub, and just from going there every week or like showing my face around, got booked for a gig there.
What venue was that?
It's called Sandbar. It's in Henley Square. And ironically enough, they shut down like 6 weeks after I started playing there. So I was like, here we go. I got my first big break, doing my first gig. And it was like right where I grew up. Like, so my school was like 1 kilometre away from it. My family home was like 2 kilometres away from it. So like everyone in the area was like local through and through. And I was like, sick. All my mates like, this is so cool. You're playing at the big local venue. Played like 3 gigs and they closed their doors forever. So.
Sad. Do you reckon there's any correlation or?
Well, yeah, it's funny because the next venue I went to closed like 6 weeks after as well. So I had a bit of a knocker for being the guy who was just shutting down venues. But I think it was maybe all those venues on their last ditch attempt, be like, oh, we'll grab some kids and we'll try to get the door list going or whatever, but it didn't work.
That's normally what happens.
Yeah.
If you're really struggling, you do a DJ comp.
Yeah. Lucky I've never really been in any DJ comps. I don't really
if you see a DJ,
era, but yeah.
If you see a DJ comp, it means the venue is about to shut.
Yeah.
So don't enter it because what they're trying to do is get 400 kids to come bring 5 friends each.
It's usually when they have like a massive influx of promoters like hit the streets. That's when you're like, all right, yeah, no, they're probably a few weeks away from struggling.
Yeah.
This big hiring spree.
So what made you get into DJ in the first place?
It was just that working on the street, Hindley Street. I wasn't working in like a nightclub venue. It was just a pub, but being around the street so much. And you make friends with everyone at the clubs and pubs. I go borrow a carton of beer off this pub or go grab some ice off this club and, you know everyone on the strip. So being in that industry sort of like, yeah, made me want to do that. And it was such a transition from doing nutrition at university to DJing pubs and stuff probably like 6 months later. I wasn't naturally like that, Cloud 9 frother or the guy was in the basement or, out till 7 a.m. That wasn't really my scene, but it was one where I just fell in love with that hospo side of the industry as well. So
how long did you work in that industry for?
Ages, up until we moved to Melbourne, but in all those different ways, like not always nightclubs. did some like functions, did a lot of gaming rooms work, did a lot of TAB sports bar work, did some marketing work for pubs. But yeah, it's always been my job. It's been weird since starting up the content with Marmalade. It hasn't really just disappeared, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's one where it was my everyday thing. It was my 9 to 5. So the advantage I found with my DJing was working in the pub, learned how like to structure your DJing a bit better, or like structure events. So whenever I threw events, it was like, you see these kids come through and they're like, yeah, it's gonna be sick. We get all our mates on, we put on this massive flyer. It'll be so much fun. We're gonna get so many girls. We're gonna get so many free drinks. And it's like, they just flop.
Yeah, doesn't work that way.
But knowing like how the money goes over the bar, or how to get tickets through the door, or what the profit loss margins need to be, and everything like that sort of helped. And knowing when I'm DJing an early set, like, all right, I need to try to drive some traffic to the bar so that we can get some sales going. Because if you're busy at 2 a.m, people aren't usually drinking, but if you're busy at 9 p.m, you're making a lot of cash.
And that's a good start, because we used to call it, it was like cleaning the bar is what we used to call it. So that sort of 9 to 11 would be, they'd be playing house music without lyrics and stuff to sort of, I guess, bore the clientele. So they would go buy drinks when they're loading up. So you didn't want to make the dance floor too appealing at the beginning, because you needed them at the bar. And then you want to keep them. So that sort of 11 to 1, you want to keep them there. And then by 1 to 3, they're no longer drinking, they're staying there anyway. So it's like you're not trying to get rid of them, but you're sort of progressing harder and harder and harder to try and hope that they buy a drink. But there's definitely 3 parts in the venue where it's like, when they begin to drink, trying to contain them there to get a couple more drinks out of them. They're sucking on chopper chops, they're no longer drinking.
Yeah, no, and I hear DJs talk about the structure who probably don't understand the bar mentality of it, and they'll be like, want to make sure the dance was still there at 4 a.m. We want to make sure we keep people around. If we go too hard, too early, everyone will go in bed early. But it's also like bar knowledge as well. It's like sometimes I might find myself going a little bit too hard too early and be like, oh shit, I can't see anyone at the bar, so I better pull this back for a bit and see if we can drive. It was like, that was the things going in my head sometimes with these like pub gigs, being like, all right, I got to drive people off my dance floor back to the bar because we've got 12 bartenders on and they're not working. All good for me. Like, this is cool. It's good for my Instagram story with a full dance floor, but it's not good for the venue.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be a lot of DJs that think like that, to be fair.
Yeah, that was a weird knowledge that I sort of brought to it. So I was probably a bit different to a lot of the DJs and that such. Doesn't mean I was a fantastic DJ or anything. You can have those guys that can pack out a room because they're so cool and popular and stuff, but it helped me a lot with like retaining a lot of regular gigs. That usually wherever I was, it helped the bar traffic a lot and helped the venue a lot, rather than just helping my own social profile.
And there's a lot of guys that do that. Like, you got guys like Jesse James or Spice or whatever. Those guys, like, they're famous for doing exactly what you talk about. They're good. They play a spot and they're like the best at it, like doctors at it almost. Yeah, that's an interesting kind of way of looking at it, because I wouldn't say, I'd almost go, if you're a fucking DJ, go out there and work the bar a bit, because they just don't understand that or don't care.
Yeah. The craziest progression we had was in COVID, and everyone had to sit down on the dance floors, and all my DJ mates were like, this sucks. This is the worst. I want to give it up. I don't want to play these gigs. But I was like, from a venue point of view, this is fantastic. And some of the venues I was working at, the money went through the roof compared to what it was before COVID. Like, you'd be like, oh, your restrictions been capped. Everyone's going to sit down. You haven't got entertainment. You haven't got all this like draw card, but you'd have a room full of people spending like 3 times the amount of money, not taking drugs because they're sitting down.
Yeah.
And, having to spend money on alcohol and socialize. So it was a crazy time for like making cash.
Yeah.
Right. The first night I DJ'd back, we broke like the bar record coming back from COVID, and we were on like 25% capacity. We broke the bar record at one of the pubs I usually DJ at, and I was like, well, it's a quiet night for me, but it's a busy night for the venue. So.
But you guys had weird rules, I remember, because you guys had like one case over 2 years or something like that, didn't you?
Something like that. But we had to sit down for ages, and like no standing up, no dancing and stuff. So I remember DJing on a lounge like this to a room full of people sitting down.
Oh, you actually were sitting on the...
Yeah, because I couldn't stand up. No one was allowed to stand up. So I was sitting on a lounge with decks on a table in front of me DJing, and I was like, and had to keep the volume low because if anyone danced, then we'd be in trouble. So had to keep people sitting down, but it was driving bar traffic. So it was those QR codes on the phone, the bartenders bring the drinks out. And it was crazy as like a typical DJ who, plays gigs to a massive dance floor is like, this sucks. But for me, I was like, oh, we're driving traffic. It's working well. The money coming in, like
easy work.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. It was easy work, but it was also like, had a very easy few months with JobKeeper and everything going on. So
true.
Yeah.
You can't really clear the dance floor when there's no one on it, right?
Yeah. The issue was trying not to start a dance floor. So yeah.
And so Shrey, I'm saying this from a conversation we had before, but did he work in the same pub as you, or he worked in pubs too?
So coming out of COVID, I picked up a gig at Downtown in Adelaide. And before COVID, it was like hard style, Melbourne bounce, sort of like bangers. And it was a massive venue. It was the biggest venue on the strip. Like it held like 1,500 people. Had a heap of money pumped into it. It used to be an arcade back in the day, like an arcade roller skating rink.
Okay.
And then
cool.
before that, it was the State Theatre. So it was built like a movie cinema, but with all the seats gutted. So it was this massive venue. And then post-COVID, they said, oh, well, we can't really have the bangers and the hardstyle come back because we've got to have sit-downs and stuff. I got approached to come in and help out the venue. And then that was the craziest progression of my life. That was like every skill and asset I'd learned over like 10 years of DJing and pub work, I had to like apply to this venue. And yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. We turned the venue around in that sense of like making money over the bar rather than providing a dance floor or providing like the best DJs. I remember coming out of COVID, there were some clubs on the strip and they're like, oh, we're going to book Timmy Trumpet the first night. We've got Dancing Back. We're going to book Sparksy. And we really fucked up the Adelaide street because the first night we had Dancing Back, we booked the Didgeridoo Man, who infamously or famously chased down a home invader with his didgeridoo out of his house in his underwear.
Where in Adelaide?
In Adelaide. So we had the biggest. So I had the keys to the biggest venue in Adelaide, like basically like running their bookings and running their marketing. And then everyone in the strip's like, oh, I'm gonna get Sparks, gonna get Timmy, gonna get Tiger Lily, gonna get all these big names. And we had the biggest venue, and we booked a 200. We paid him $200 to come in and just get on the stage in his underwear with his didgeridoo, like he did on a current affair. And I got ripped. Like I remember my Facebook feed was fucking full of people slagging our venue. Every other club was taking the piss out of us, and I was like, "It's a new era. Like I'm just gonna do what makes money over the bar. I don't want to spend 30K on a big DJ because I know we're not gonna make that back tonight, and I know the dance floors are gonna be weird. You know, like so we booked the lowest budget act and just tried to provide entertainment or social aspect. And we started doing this over and over. We did some really crook stuff.
Tell us some of it.
Yeah, some really crook stuff. I reckon the week after we did a Go-Go Stop party. And I don't know if you remember that TV show, but it was like,
Nah.
it was on when people were going from school. They had to work their way up like a game board. And it was hosted by Jesse Tobin, who's on Sunrise at the moment, I'm pretty sure. And I hit him up and I said, can you film some videos for our big cinema screen behind the DJ decks? And we gave away ripsticks, colouring in packs, all the sort of packs they give away in the game show. We just started like giving them away every hour in the crowd. And then people were like, what are they doing? These guys are ruining this venue. But then people started coming because they were like, we've spent a year without DJs, so we just want to experience like social fun times, create memories. It was like a big thing coming out of COVID was like, I want to make sure I got good memories. Like, you don't know if the world's going to go back into lockdown. Like, you don't know if people are going to all die from the coronavirus. So everyone to go and like make crazy stories. And we were just trying to create like crazy stories in the venue. The biggest one we did was a milk party, which has become our infamous trait with Marmalade since. But I remember I had to drive to the Nippy's factory one shift. I was working like a day shift drive there. I filled up my car with as much milk as I could from Nippy's milk factory and came back and filled all the cool rooms up with it. And at midnight, I did the set and we're throwing milk into the crowd. All the glassies, I said, just for half an hour, I needed to have like sack trucks and just go hand every single person in the venue like a flavoured milk. And no one wanted to drink them. So everyone just opened them, was pouring them on the ground, throwing them up in the air on everyone. So there was just milk everywhere in this venue. And I remember the owner came through and he's like, what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and the cleanup was like absurd. But that night, Zac Efron was in town and he was filming Gold. Is it Gold? Like
Yeah. I watched that. That was good.
Yeah. So he was filming that in Australia and he was doing some stuff in Adelaide. And ironically, he was staying at he was partying at that first venue I ever worked at. So the pub, because they had backpackers and they just locked it off for him. He just hired out the backpackers. So he was next door to our venue, just in this pub that I used to work at. And then my old bosses called and said, hey, Zac Efron's in town. He wants to go to a nightclub tonight. I said, well, got 500 litres of milk. And yeah, somehow, I don't know what was going on, but I was DJing at midnight. And the other boss came out and he goes, look up in the top corner booth. And there was like 30 security guards and just people like my dance was empty. Everyone's trying to get up to the booth. And he's like, Zac's up there. So the milk party dragged Zac Efron out. We went from doing like, before COVID, like doing like 300 people a night to doing like 5,000 people in the line.
Yeah, really?
That can only fit like 1,000 people in the club. So that was when I met Shrey. At that point, the Zac Efron night, Shrey comes in. He's wearing a crow scarf. Later in the night, maybe like 4 a.m. after Zac's cleared out and there's still like a couple hundred people there.
Did Zac get stuck into the milk or what?
I don't know. No, I didn't actually get to like, I shook his hand, but I was too busy DJing. So like, he was only there for 2 hours and I DJed for probably an hour and a half. And then I got to go up and be like, hey, how you going? All he said to me, I played High School Musical remix. And he's like, can't believe you fucking played that music, bro. Fucking hate that song. Like, that's all he said. But yeah, Shrey was there. And I was like, this guy's in a crow scarf and he's still here at 4 a.m. He's got no friends. He's by himself on the dance floor. So I just chatting to him as I was like picking up glasses and like cleaning up the venue. And he's like, I was like, if you go up in that sound booth, we have like 30K of sound equipment. Just go up there. We don't have a sound tech on tonight because we're not paying COVID wages. Just punch whatever you want into the laptop and it will come up on the screen. So he opens up YouTube. He's up there blind drunk with all this sound tech equipment, punches in YouTube, Eddie Betts best goals. And that pops up on the screen. And then I think the next thing he's like, the video finished, he types in like Rashid Khan, Adelaide Strikers highlights. So this venue before COVID, or if anyone else had the keys in the industry, probably would have had, you know, DJ's logo, smoke machines, lasers pumping. We've got milk all over the floor, Rashid Khan highlights on the TV. So that was the backwards thinking that came through our minds. But
it's kind of interesting because like I used to do a mix of both, right? So I did the big artists, but I also did some stuff like that. So I did one, it was like a speed dealer party. And it got shut down because the cops came and like, you can't do a speed dealer party.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're not inviting actual speed dealers.
I remember there was a club in Adelaide that were giving away free durries.
Oh, that's a
Back in
great
the
one.
day. They got in a lot of trouble for that.
Well, I did Katut. I booked Katut from the ads in by Indonesia. And that killed it. We used to do heaps of that weird shit. Did a porno mo party that turned into a porno party that became one of the most iconic things at Tramp ever. And we got like a licensing breach for it. YouTube and Herald Sun wrote about it. But I used to think the same. So I used to always be like, you know, it's all good to come to a club and watch an artist. That's great. But what's going out's about creating memories. So then I would be like, how do I do stuff off the cusp, but be it fucking jungle theme party or something random, or even I'll book something that you wouldn't traditionally expect. Like I think we were the first people to start booking Married at First Sight. Then now every single club uses
everyone
that.
does it. But the first gimmick of it, that was our sort of mindset was you can grab Sparks here, you can grab like a massive DJ, but like...
Well, sometimes you can't because it's too expensive.
But
so
then
you got to think outside
the other
box.
club can do the same. It becomes a bidding war and then no one... But all my mates have gone to me, oh, you're doing that club that did the milk party, or you're doing that club that did this, and no one's willing to like take that on. Yeah. So we've just became this unique location where it was on everyone's like tip of their tongue.
100%. And something different. Like I used to always say too, like, you know, clubbing is not a serious thing. So like, why is everyone trying to make it serious? So when we used to do my club Empire, I would be like, to the actual boys, like when I talk to them, I'm like, everything's got to be not serious. Yeah. Like we're the second best option. Like people don't go suburban nightclubbing because it's the best option in Melbourne. They come here because it's fun and they create memories. But yeah, so what actually, other than, you know, COVID was trying to make you do it, but what made you think, or had you seen something? Like what motivated you to start doing these weird events?
I don't know. Maybe because I didn't come through it with like a natural like DJ mindset, came through the venue mindset. I was like, what can we do to get the money over the bar? Like it wasn't about, it was like, how can we spend low budget, but like create the best atmosphere or create the best story? If you want to go through 30K at a big DJ, of course, everyone's gonna be talking about your venue for the week, but how can we throw $200 on the stage and get everyone talking about us for the week? So it was like, how can I keep the budget down? Coming out of COVID, didn't have a lot to spend. But get everyone talking about us. So, I mean, you talk about Empire, did a gig at Empire coming out of COVID, and then we got Trey in a banana suit throwing bananas in the crowd. So,
people love it.
It's just like, how can we do the lowest budget thing with the most amount of attention?
Well, I managed Rockefellers, and it's basically the same thing. When I started that, I was like, cool, because originally what actually happened was Lucky were charging me too much for artists, and I cracked the shits, and I was like, fuck you. So then I was like, well, I'm going to create a bunch of stuff. So I created all these different concepts, and that was one that stuck. But I was like, it's got to be a show for people who are at the venue. And then from a promoter's perspective, it's got to be like, it doesn't necessarily have to be to bring people on. It's more about the experience. And now they play.
And then everyone talks about it. They go, I was at this club and there's two old blokes got up. And it's like crazy. Like, it's like, it's a story. Yeah. But it's like, I was at this club and this guy that played good tunes with a backwards cap got up. And no one's really talked about it for weeks.
Like, oh yeah, this guy played some new song. Let's just like on the radio or some shit. But that's the same thing. I was like, you know, boys, you got to get on their fucking, you got to do everything you possibly can to be crazy so people can't forget. Yeah. And they do that. And now they travel around Australia all the time. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing. But I guess that probably led you into this social media stuff, right? Like,
definitely. We kept getting so out of hand. So the milk party was like week 5 of this running the club. And then when we get Trey on board, we met a few other blokes dragging.
So wait, you got Trey on board just because you put Eddie Betts on the screen?
Yeah. So after that, I was like, you've got your own door list. Like, I don't care. We'll pay you to have a door list. Like, you just come in every week. He'd come in. I'd give him because I used to have like a drinks card for DJing. But I was also working the bar, picking up glasses, fucking dealing with licensing, cops, everything that went on. Like, I was doing the whole thing. So I wasn't drinking. Like, I couldn't drink. The cops were coming in during COVID doing walkthroughs 15 times a night. So I was like, Trey, this is technically my DJ card. It's yours. Like, just go get pissed with your mates and then just do funny shit. Like, but we recruited a few Treys. Like, there was a lot of that type of people that I'd see them come in of like, you're rare and you're creating energy. Come in, here's $50 of drinks every week. Come in, here's $200 of drinks a week. We just need you in here because you're an energy, you're an enigma. Like,
yep. I'm finding it so unique because like we did the same thing. You know, when we, especially local clubs, not city clubs, but like I'd find this guy who had a massive mullet who would fucking straight arm bourbons. I'm like, you're gonna work for me.
Yeah.
So I was literally looking for giant characters that I could place in my content in the club for energy so that people would keep wanting to come that weren't serious. So I was doing the exact same shit, but the difference is, I did this for 20 years and you sort of started in a small pub. So it's actually crazy to see the synergies that we had from
definitely.
Marketing perspective.
The marketing of pubs and clubs sort of helped out in that role, I guess. But there was a kid who came in one night, he was wearing all of his medals that he'd won as a junior. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I don't know. I was at home, I was blind, so I just raided mum's drawer and wore all my medals here. And I was like, all right. And then he started handing them out throughout the night. And I was like, I'm looking at my dance floor. I was like, 15 people wearing medals. I was like, this is pretty rare. So the next week I said, all right, you bring all your medals, tell your mates to bring your medals, and we'll give you like heaps of drinks. And we're going to promote that if people bring a medal, they get a free drink. So then every single person in our venue was wearing under 8s football medal. It just sits in your mum's drawer and gets tossed in the trash. So 18-year-old kids like, I don't care about my under 12s footy medals or trophies. So people in our line were rocking up, like everyone with a medal, thinking they get like free entry or a free drink. And it was just making people talk. Like, I was at this club, and if you bring your medal from your kids, you get a free drink. And they're like, mind blowing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I was just like, if you come here every week with your medals on, you can have a couple $100 drinks.
How long were you running for?
Like 6 to 8 months. But then it was always like on and off. Like COVID was such a hard time where it was like COVID would strike. We'd get shut down for a week. We'd come back. We'd have to readjust. We'd have a massive week. Like we broke the sales record by like tripled like the sales record one week. And I was like, this is crazy. We're onto something big. Like we're going to be printing cash here. And the next week, COVID case in SA. And I was like, fuck. Like, like it was like, and like with clubs, there's a bit of a progression. Like you can't just throw a random night out. Like we'd have to build it back up to where it was. And then COVID case hit, sort of fucking 2-day lockdown.
Yeah, I getcha.
And became a headache. And then it was stressing out. The boss had a lot of other clubs, so stressing him out a lot where I want to do something crazy like that medal idea. And he'd be like, no, we fucking got to behave. Like, we got to keep it clean cut so that the cops don't come in. I was like, we're not doing anything illegal. Like, we actually cleared all the drugs out of our venue to the point where the bars were doing a lot of cash. So
yeah, no shit.
Because the people who wanted to take drugs were like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah, because you're looking for a certain kind of clientele when you're doing that sort of like gimmicky sort of have a laugh at yourself sort of stuff, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the club that used to do hard style and had like a major drug issue was now doing bring a soft serve, get free entry, and drug dealers and takers weren't coming in. They're like, it's not worth that time. So we completely like cleared it to the point where I don't like, I know I was there. Like I've been around pubs and clubs for ages and I would walk around, I wouldn't even see anything going on, any dodges that I'd be like, they're a risk. Nothing would go on. And I was like, it's crazy because our bar takings go up. Like, the bar takings skyrocketed as soon as we cleared those types out. But
I reckon it's just like, thinking back on it, I reckon like milk and ecstasy don't really go that well together.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Milk and anything don't really go too well together at 3 a.m.
Yeah, all Jaeger bombs for that fact. Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good way to get rid of them. Like I reckon that could be a thing. If anyone has a drug problem, just bring in chalky milk on the menu, and every single person that comes has to drink one. And I reckon you get rid of that problem pretty quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't one where it was a planned thing. Like we weren't trying to clear those people out, but just by creating the atmosphere of like having kids, like kids wanted to go home and tell their parents where they'd been. Like they'd be like, it was crazy. Like this is what went on. But if you went home and told your parents, like I was out till 7 a.m. and everyone was on drugs, and they would be like, you're not going out ever again. But if they go home and be like, oh man, Zac Efron was there. They were giving away ribsticks. Like
there was milk all over the dance floor.
Yeah, it was like a safe environment where like, we created it just something different to the street, I guess. But Shrey became a big part of that because there was a couple of like enigmas that we sort of recruited on, and Shrey was just like, just bringing the energy, just an 18-year-old kid. And we chose a couple of different types. So there's a couple of people we really got around. We like, maybe this guy's got no friends. Like we had people come in just for like loners.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just gonna get around and build him up. We can build him up to anything just by like support, like getting around him. And then you turn him into like little personalities in the club. And
yeah, and that's like something that people again don't highlight, right? Like when you work in the club world, there's people out there that they're like outliers / outcasts. And they're some of the best personalities. Like we used to have a guy that used to put Mick in front of everything. So he'd be like, McLovin, McBrother, like, and he would literally talk like that. And then we had so many random, we had another guy who used to come and give out roses to all the girls and he'd come and dance. But like that guy becomes what everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that guy at the club, like this guy comes in, he dances in a bow tie and gives out roses. Or this guy comes in by himself and dances on the dance floor to 4 o'clock in the morning in straight arms of Jack Daniels. Yeah. And so all of a sudden that guy becomes an enigma of the club. So if you highlight that, it only makes it better. But it's something, everyone talks about the cool shit. They don't talk about the unique shit that happens in every fucking nightclub has these like creatures, basically.
Yeah, some of them are creatures, but some of them have like crazy ideas. Like we hired a few of them, put them in bars. I'd be like, I don't really care if your bar doesn't do much turnover. Just stand here and do what you do. Like just be enjoyable. Like some of them like you can't shut them up. So it's like, you're great. I'm gonna stick you in the rooftop bar where we just have lots of people just want to chat all night, so you can just chat to people. Like, but yeah, it was like Trey was a great enigma in a way that he was probably like on my wavelength the most. So like I could bounce off him with ideas and like Like, I'm going to think of this crazy thing. What do you think is any good? And he'd just be like, yeah, or no. Like, we had pretty similar like mindsets in that sense. Some of them were like, there's outcasts, so I probably wouldn't hang out with them on a Tuesday at lunchtime. But Trey, I was like hitting up on a Tuesday with like thoughts on this idea for this event, or, you know.
Yeah, I getcha.
And then when we left the club, he sort of just went back to working at McDonald's. And I was like I quit the club because I wanted to just try something new. I'd been there for 8 months. It was quite an intense job. Like, it was like 75, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like, I was living there. Like, it was like 9 to 5, Monday to Tuesday, but I'd find myself getting home at like 11 p.m. because I was putting up posters or fucking cleaning tables or screwing stuff together or whatever it was, like doing visuals on screens. So I ended up quitting, looking for the next venture. And at that point, everyone who was like slagging us off early days for the Didgeridoo Man was like, come to my club. We want this at our club. We'll give you a room here. We'll give you a room here. And part of the negotiations was like, I need to bring Shrey. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, found another venue, grabbed Shrey, brought him in, and then that venue shut because they sold. So we went back to square one of the Sandbar days.
What venue was that again?
It was called the London.
Okay.
And it was where it was one of the first venues I DJed at as well in the city. So I was like, I want to go back there and just like build up one of these venues that are struggling that I was used to be at.
Did you have a brand name back then, or you just literally just you guys rolling in and just
Yeah,
creating?
that's what we did. Yeah. We sort of got like that recognition in Adelaide as like the people we had in our enigmas. Like, people would be like, oh, they're the guys from downtown. Like, you know, or they're, you know, they're those guys. Like,
Yeah, I get it.
Marmalade wasn't a thing at that point. And then when that shut down, I'd been at the Ramsgate for a long time, like a very long time. Like, I'd been there for like, well, I played my first gig there in like 2014. And the Ramsgate, for those who don't know, is like a pub in Henley Beach across the road from the Sandbar. But it's where the showdown brawl went on back in the day between Mark Rashudo and Josh Carr. So it's like a really
Iconic.
famous pub in Adelaide. It's massive beachfront pub, 2-story, like massive venue. And I've been there DJing every Friday there for like 5 years. And then I said, can you get Trey a job just as a glassy or something? Because we didn't need, it wasn't like it was a pub. It wasn't promoted, nightclub type thing. So he started working behind the bar. I was DJing. Friendship continued, sort of like doing some crazy shit. We booked Daniel Gorringe for that venue before he went on Big Brother.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the shenanigans was the same. Like, it was like, but in a like scaled back. He couldn't do the nightclub type stuff. So it was just like still minor shenanigans, minor like comedy. But and then while we're there, we sort of formed that Marmalade sort of bond. It was, you know.
Yeah, that started the whole thing. So working in Adelaide, like obviously there is a lot of crazy stuff that goes on there. So I'm pretty sure it's the murder capital of per capita of the world or something like that. Is there some crazy stuff you saw working in venues like on Hindley Street and stuff that you can remember that's not related to Milk on the Ground?
Like the dirt, like the dark stuff.
Kind of a bit of both, you know, like something crazy you've seen, like for argument's sake, you know, one of my mates found an eyeball behind a couch that someone had lost it in a brawl, yeah, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it all. Like, I've seen everything, and sometimes people are like, something crazy will happen, and people tell me like, oh, I've been there. Like, we had people die in a venue at the pub, just like have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You have to like carry them out in an ambulance. Like, and that was just in the gaming rooms and things like that. So like working in hospital,
Just
you just see it all.
one like a feature or something.
Yeah. But, you know, I've seen people smoke fucking heroin in the smokers. I've been taking the trash and I'm like, what the fuck do I do here? Or, you know.
Because pokey venues probably got underrated. Like you talk about nightclubs, people think they're real bad, but pokey
Pokies
venues,
are the worst. So I used to work to like 6 a.m. closing pokes as well. So it was like the
lots of
worst.
ice
Of the
heads
worst.
touching the screens.
Yeah. So people like drug dealers and prostitutes coming in, just rinsing their cash.
Yeah,
at
because
4
they're
a.m.
midweek pokies, like that 2 to 6 a.m. shifts, got to be one of the
it was on
dankest
like
places.
Netflix show. It's so crazy. Yeah. But like, even so, Shrey's only been in the hospital sector for like a year, but he's had to like tell bikies to like take their colours off, or like, you know, bikies roll in, you have to be like, hey man, can you take your jacket off?
That's
and like
hilarious.
just shit like that for him is like mind blowing. But yeah, that's been like 10 years of my life. And it's like a little bit scary, but you become accustomed to it. And the more accustomed and like confident you are with it, the less stressful it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, all sorts of stuff. Been in fights, like dragged into fights. Has
Yeah, of
been
course.
working in the bar, and you'd be like, fuck, there's a 30-person brawl. We've got 5 guards. How do we shut this down? Everyone's got to jump in and pull them apart, and you come away with cuts and what, but it's not the
I
worst.
always use an example. It's like working in hospitality, it's like working in a giant bonfire. You're just trying to not, like next to a giant forest.
Yeah.
You're just trying to contain it and make sure it doesn't catch alight somewhere
yeah,
else.
de-escalate everything as much as you can. Try not to like, yeah. The last thing you do is call the cops. I've heard you say this before, but the last thing you do is get the cops into your venue, because then you become a hotspot for them. So
They don't want to hear from you.
yeah,
That's
the
what
more
people
you
don't
call
get.
them, the less you become the boy who cried wolf. So unless
not
it's-
even that, like,
unless there's like a knife or a gun, like yeah.
And even then, they still be like, how come that person felt he could bring a knife or a gun? You're like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't. So we don't put a fucking sign up saying, please bring your knife or gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more attention you get from the police, the more likely you are to never have a livelihood.
Yeah,
Which is a weird thing.
In the poker rooms, a few times I had like someone pull a knife, and someone pulled a knife on someone else, and I tackled them to the ground out of it, and I was like, fuck. And then I had to call the cops because I was just sitting on him being like, you're disarmed. And the cops came like, why did you tackle him? I was like, because I called you last week, you didn't rock up. So I want to watch this guy get murdered in front of me. But yeah, it's just the same everywhere. It's like anyone who works in the hospital sector would see it. It's like, and that's all they talk about at knockoffs, and when they catch up, is like the crazy stories. So.
I feel like that's the lure.
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting there afterwards, you're like, bro, like this happened, or this dude did this, like this guy fell through the roof. And where I remember like one time, this is so irrelevant, but there was this guy, like middle of the dance floor, like 1,000 people, and this guy's feet just pop out of the aircon system. And we're like, what the fuck? And he's just like dangling. Everyone's trying to rip him. Like we're just literally grabbing, trying to rip his feet from up there. He pops back up, and then we like did a full surveillance mission around the whole venue. Never saw him. I don't know what he did or how he got out, but
Jesus.
I can just still see those legs just literally just sitting there going like that. And then he just pops back up. And I don't know if he slept in there, if he stayed in the vent or what he did, but he got away with it.
Never knew his name. Like
yeah, Venti.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
So going back to you worked in a hospital, you met Shrey, you both start working in hospitality and whatnot. Marmalade begins, right? So run us through that. Like, how does Marmalade, where does the name come from? Where does the concept come from?
So,
how do you go from working in venues together, doing random things, to being content creators?
Yeah, so in the clubs, like you said, the gimmicky stuff, like booking Married at First Sight people, it was getting to that trend where we were trying to book like TikTok people. We found like you can book a massive DJ for 10, 20, 30 grand, or you can book someone who's got 2 million followers on TikTok for sometimes $50 drink card, like depending who they are. So it was like,
you can't.
No, yeah, give and take, yeah.
Yeah, true.
But those early days, no one was exploiting that, and I was like, we got to get on this quick. So we started booking a lot of TikTok people at the clubs and pubs we were sort of doing marketing for, and we weren't on it. Like, I didn't know much about the app. I was like, that's an app for kids. I don't have it, which is crazy considering I was doing marketing for venues. But it was all like Facebook, Instagram marketing, and a lot of stuff like that. So booking these TikTokers, and they've got like 2 million followers, and I'd be like, they'd come in and people would lose their mind. They'd be like, it'd be like you booked like Beyonce for your venue. Like, it was just like lines and lines of people for. And I was like, I'm paying this guy $100.
Yeah,
like,
wild.
It's crazy. I could pay a DJ 10 grand and have 30 people rock up sometimes. So, we started booking a lot of TikTok people, and then I started circulating with those people and like just hanging out with them. And I was like, this is crazy how much people adore you, how quickly you become famous. Cause like I've been grinding this for 10 years and I might have like 2,000 Instagram followers, but you've been grinding this for 10 minutes and you've 2 million followers. Like,
and so you were making content before too?
Oh, like DJ, like, you know, like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
You got to promote yourself a bit. So, I was always like a bit of a meme type, promoting myself in the DJ sense. I used to make a lot of like meme type content.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like just mind blown at how quickly these people blew up. So I was like, all right, we'll just create an account. And we created an account and just got stuck into it.
That's true, bro. Like you talk about, like even me, like I started in Feb. That's fucking insane. Like I'll be in New Zealand. I was in this random country town. Got stopped 5 times for photos. Yeah, like it's insane. I've never seen anything like it either. It's a wild.
How quickly, like, and you look at all the DJs back from like 2010, 2012. And they used to grind around with their CD cases.
Yeah.
And they had to like hand out flyers and go drop their vinyls off at fucking shops. And now, is it that Cyril bloke?
Yeah.
He just puts a few videos up drinking out of his goblet and waving his hands around. And he's doing like world tours and they're selling out. And I'm like, this is crazy how quickly you can blow up from just having a few videos.
That's insane. From anything though. You could be a fucking milk farm and blow up. Like it's insane.
Yeah. So we created an account.
So when you say we, you mean she's training you?
Yeah. It was like an account with a few mates. Just chuck some random videos over there, see how they go. We're always in nightclubs. We're always with TikTok people. We're not exploiting them for content. We're more exploiting them to get gigs. Like, but we weren't really like, we didn't know how to make TikToks. Like, we don't know what their draw card is to our content for the venues. So just learning the app. Went to a pub that our mate had just bought, and pubs were really cheap at that time after COVID. So he's bought this shitty old pub, renovating, and he's like, come in for a feed. And he's like, oh, there's a footie across the road stuck in the tree. Do you want to go grab it and see if you can kick it over the pub? Maybe that'll be a TikTok. And so we did that, went across the road, grabbed did this video like with a cringy like TikTok text to speech. Like, we were at the pub. We went and got this footy, kicked it over the pub. And it was like flat and broke and everything. And the video got like 300,000 plays. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, bloody make a new track, like pay someone to do my artwork, pay someone to go do like the video of like lyric video, like, you know,
get 1,000 plays.
And and we get like 150 plays on Facebook sometimes. And I was like, if we just put this video up for kicking a footy and it's got 300,000. So yeah. And then the progression just started from there. I was like, all right, well, Tuesday, do you want to catch up, Shrey? We'll go see if we can kick a footy over this venue. And that was, we were kicking footies over places was our big thing.
Was it? Is that how it started?
We just kept running with it. And it was crazy. Like, we went through 100 footies in a year, which is a crazy thought for it. But they were $10. So we found out you can buy footies for $10 from Big W or Kmart or whatever. Like they're just like $10 Sharons. So we used to go and like stockpile them. Like we'd like go on the website, click and collect like 40 and drive into like Mano Para. It was like 50-minute drive to go pick up 40 Sharons and just keep it in our boot. And then we'd be like, all right, we went to IKEA, like McDonald's, Bunnings, Dan Murphy's. Like,
see if you can kick footies over it.
Like not asking people either. Like these days we'd have to like send an email, be like, hey, can we come to your venue? You want to do a collab? You know? But we're just rocking up to place and kicking footies, and people were losing their mind over it. So then people started hitting us up and like, come to my workplace, kick a footy here, or can you come do a Spono post with us? And then we're just getting dragged around everywhere to kick footies over pubs and venues and shops. And
that's life.
that was where it all started. The first video, when that started blowing up, we started getting all these like plays and follows, and we didn't have an account name. It was like user 1376 whatever. And we're like, fuck, we gotta come up with an account name like real quick, like ASAP. So it was like 2 a.m, Mally messaging the group chat, like, what do we do? Come with like a few suggestions. And I was like the footy show back in the day. They used to have a bar with a comedian in it called Trevor Marmalade.
Of course.
So we were like, we work in the bars, and our whole thing is footy at the moment. So why don't we just do the footy bar, guys, and we'll be Marmalade, like as like honor to Trevor Marmalade. So yeah, that's where that came from.
That's cracker. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no one really does. I think
when I saw it, I was like, that's a fucking random ass name. But now you say that, like, it makes complete sense. It's actually ingenious.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, that's where it came from. We probably could play on it a bit more. We played on it a little bit early days. We haven't done it much since. I'd love to one day meet Trev or something, but I met his kids. But I got to get in contact with him somehow.
I wonder if he knows.
Yeah, I wonder if he knows that's where it started. So
yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. That's a good homage, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, we started in pub marketing and like working in hospo.
And so you're obviously obsessed with footy, I'm assuming.
Yeah, crazy obsessed.
Yeah, okay. Because you couldn't continue to make the content you did.
Yeah. I even DJing wise towards like the back. I haven't made music for like over a year because we've been busy with content, but I made like all the AFL remixes. And no one really knows this since we started the footy content because they get used everywhere for like
it's like the Richmond one and stuff like that. Did you make them?
Yeah.
Oh, what? I remember them.
Yeah, and no one knows the correlation. It's funny. We meet people like we'll go to clubs and I'm like, oh, I used my track the other day. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's my remix of like North's song or Freo's song or whatever. And we'll go like work with clubs these days, and the marketing people are like, is that you?
Yeah, I did not know that. That's crazy as.
It's like footy's been my crazy thing for ages.
So it's kind of like a perfect thing. So you're working in venues, you understand content because you're like a DJ and whatnot, and you're a venue manager effectively or promoter. And then from there, you're obsessed with footy. You then start kicking footballs over venues and then move into football content.
Yeah, and then people want to come kick footies over their venue to like promote their venue and do the marketing for them. So the footy over venues lasted for about a year. We thought it got pretty old. Like we did everything we could. We kicked footies over everything in Adelaide. To the point we were getting dragged back out to places to do like second kicks over. And I was like, this is where it gets too far. Like, plus they ran out of footies.
What year? Came up completely.
Yeah.
What year did you start kicking footies over venues?
2021, I reckon.
Yeah, no
back
shit.
in
Okay.
2021. We were kicking with people as well. So like we'd get like some of the crazy ones. Like we had like Channel 7 presenters. I mean, they'll like come down to Channel 7 and kick it over the building. And there's like satellites on top, like $1 million satellites. And we're like standing on like Port Road, which is like a major road in Adelaide, and I'm there, I'm looking around, there's like traffic galore, footy, kicking it at a satellite, and I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Like what are people in their car thinking? Like, what happens if I miss and hit a car? Like, this is just where it gets out of hand. I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like, but yeah, we just like, as we learned more about the content, it migrated and we started doing other things and it all grew, so.
And so then you've left venues after a while, I'm guessing, for the content stuff.
So we made the move to Melbourne a year ago, and that was when I left venues.
So before that, you were working in venues?
Yeah. So like most recently, myself and Shrey, I was working in the sports bar and Shrey was working in the gaming room. We were living together in Adelaide for a year. And then that year, lease came up, and at that time, we were starting to blow up a bit. Like the Div 12 Resi stuff, which
seen it all.
had just started.
For those who don't know, what is Div 12 Resis?
So Shrey had played footy as a junior. I'd played footy my whole life. We moved in together. I said, Trey, come play footy with me at my club because it's only around the corner from where we're living. And he's fat and useless and shit, and so am I. And he's like, I won't get a game. I was like, you get a game. Like, it's a D grade. We're really bad. And we started playing. And our other housemate, Jim, who had done a bit of content in the past, had done a bit of YouTube, came out just to watch. Like, he's like, I'll just come watch you guys play. This is funny that you're both playing. And he just filmed some TikToks, and at the end of the day, he's like, look at this. And I was like, that's fucked. We're really bad. We put them up, and they started blowing up, and people started eating up watching us play footy. So they'd seen us kick the footies over the pubs, but now they get to see us actually try kick
But
the
so what
footy
is
in
a
the
Div
game.
12? Because I obviously, I sort of more saw that content when you guys were blowing up, but it's like, what is Div 12? Because obviously there is no Div 12.
We're the lowest div in SA. So the div we're in, the div below is inclusion div. Like, so it's like disability and all abilities. So, so we were like the lowest division, and we were.
So it actually was Div 12.
Yeah, it was like Division 7 of the thirds comp. So there was like division. We worked out it was like Div 14, really. But
Yeah, wow.
yeah. So yeah, it was the lowest. And even when we moved to Melbourne, we're playing the lowest div of the VAFA, and there's 12,000 people in that comp, and we're in the lowest div.
Yeah, wow. So who do you play for now? Wattle Park.
Wattle Park in Burwood since we moved over.
Yeah, I played for a team years ago called Emmaus Monsters.
Jeez.
And that was like a rotational bench. It was amazing. I used to roll up hungover every Friday, or Saturday. And then as soon as you were like slightly puffed, you could just run on and tap someone. And normally in a normal game of football, like because it was such a low division, you're never going to do that, right? Like if you want to stay on until your coach pulls you, it was like sometimes you'd be like yelling out, like just hang out for a little bit longer so you can sit on the bench for longer.
Yeah, well, like before the content got filmed, like we just naturally played footy. We didn't really put any of the gimmicks on. A lot of the gimmicks like done in the editing, you can always make everything look a bit more dramatized than it does. But like the stuff we're doing in the content, I've been doing for like fucking years.
Yeah.
Like I remember me and my mate, we used to get hung, like pissed on a Friday because we'd have the DJ gig. Then in the morning we go through Macca's and we'd do something dumb like get soft serves or get Sundays and go to the game at 9 a.m. and everyone would be like, why are you eating ice cream? You're pissed. Like, what is going on? Or sometimes we called an Uber from a gig to a game. Like,
Yeah, wow.
I
That's-
like
yeah,
rock up and I'm like, fuck my wash. I put my washing on before I went to my gig and didn't put it on the line. And I've had to grab all my wet footy gear and go to the footy in the morning and play in like fully wet.
But like culturally, that's like the footy you don't see, right? You see AFL and that's like all kind of glamorized. But the footy that I played was much the same. Like we were rolling in from
and
house
there's the footy
parties.
that most people play. Like there's only like 1,000 people in the AFL.
That
But
do it,
there'd be
yeah.
like 100,000. You know, there'd be heaps playing footy at that level where they just like
Smoking dust before the game and
they're
stuff.
just doing it socially. So yeah, we were highlighting all the social aspects of
Yeah.
local footy.
And was that like a plan? Was it a plan to do that to blow up or just sort of kind of
No, so we were making content and we are getting like some good traction, like not about our own footy. And then just our mate coming down and filming, people like, oh, these are the guys that do the footy content. And now they're playing footy. Like,
Yep.
what the hell? So yeah, it really started to kick off. And then when our lease ended like halfway through the season, we we're like, all right, well, it's really kicking off. Like we're on the Today Show and we're in the paper every second week for some video we've done. And all the footy's in Melbourne. Should we go to Melbourne? So yeah, just made the big move and came over here.
How long have you been here for now? Like a year?
A year and a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
it?
when we quit the pubs.
So what was the transition like? Like was it scary or what? Have you found it?
I moved to Melbourne for a little bit for DJing back in like 2017, and that was scary because I didn't really have any like stable. And you know how DJ income is. It's like you don't know.
Sporadic.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a little bit like that. The same sense is the work comes in ebbs and flows. Like we did gather round, and that was like half a year's paycheck, but then we didn't have work for like 6 weeks after that. So.
Yeah.
But I was lucky in the sense that I'd done DJing for so long that I'd learnt the ins and outs of that industry where if you get a big paycheck, like you cop a 10 grand paycheck, maybe 19-year-old me would be like, oh, let's go out in the beers, let's go get Palmers, let's get new clothes, new shoes. And then no work comes in for 3 weeks and you're like, I got rent due.
Yeah, it's the same as a promoter. Like we
Yeah.
we would literally, you'd make a bulk amount of cash, then you had to use half of it to go do your next show. And then you didn't know where your next amount of money was coming from. So you get very, very good at fingers in pies.
Yeah. Learn how to like put money away and spend it strategically and not blow it all at once. But there's been weeks where, since we moved to Melbourne, this is crazy, but there's been weeks where myself and Shrey have had like between us $7 in our bank account, and we'd go to Coles and be like, all right, we need to find food for the next 2 days with this.
Good content.
Well, yeah, we didn't make content that day because we were actually in those dire straits. There's been days where Shrey and me have had to call our parents, be like, hey, rent's due and we're a couple $100 short. Can we borrow some cash? But there's been days where all the money we've made in the last 6 months have come in the same week. So invoicing and, sporadic work can be like up and down.
As a massive footy fan, so all you and the boys, like Will, Shrey, all those guys, what's it like getting invited to to their press conferences and part of the games and sort of being a real staple part of the community now and something that traditionally, you said you probably could never have been an AFL athlete, but now you guys have as much as AFL, like when you think of AFL, you kind of think of Marmalade. What's that like from you guys as creating something that, that never existed?
Yeah, it's been a little mind blowing sometimes, like bit like pinch yourself moments sometimes. I know I know we're not good. Like I know where we sit in the scheme of things. Like we play shit footy and we film and put it on the internet. It doesn't make us like great athletes. It doesn't make us like famous. we're just a little bit funny on the internet, like sometimes. You know?
So I would disargue. Like, I'm sorry, I would argue that because I would say more people probably know who Marmalade is these days than some big footy players.
Sometimes. So we've been like at footy events or whatever, and footballers will come up and ask us for a photo, or like, you know, they'll come up and be like, "Oh my god, come with me." And I'm like, "This is mind blowing," because I pay $40 every week to come watch you play footy. Like,
yeah,
you know. So those are like the mind blowing moments, or like, you know, trying to think. The other day, I was at a comedy show and Ross Lyon was in the crowd, and I'd been at St Kilda all day and like mad St Kilda fan. If I can go to all the games, I buy all the merch, go to, you know, and he's like, "You're the guy." I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, you know, and then I was talking about players. He didn't know some of his players, and I was like, "This is crazy that he knows who we are just from some stuff we done on the internet." But it's given us like every kid plays footy wants to be like play AFL, and then you work out like 14 that you can't.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But now we're like living that life, but not playing the AFL.
You sort of created like a sub entertainment
as close as we can get to it.
Yeah,
with
literally.
our abilities or our, you know.
Well, even mates of mine, like I'll be like, "Oh, you know, the Marmalade guys," like, yeah. But they don't watch footy. Yeah, like they know who you guys are. Like they wouldn't be able to say the top 5 players of a fucking AFL team, but they know your content, which is insane to think that you guys...
It is crazy sometimes. But yeah, there's other times where I know like you can't get an ego on it because we haven't done the pre-seasons and we're not good at footy. We're not professional, you know, athletes, and you know, we got to know.
You draw big crowds to the water park, from what I've heard. What's your biggest crowd?
We had a crowd of 6,000 this year come to that game in Adelaide. But that was a crazy game.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's like grand final for like top div clubs, yeah. Like, and you guys are sort of just out there having fun.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see. It's probably motivating to kids, I reckon, too.
Yeah, a lot of kids, like, man, the amount of like, even just on the weekend I went to the footy and I was like signing kids Guernseys and stuff, and they were like in tears almost. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is me when I was 12, but with like Warren Treadray or like, you know.
But how many kids though would look at it and go, you know, I'm not going to be able to play AFL. I'm not going to be able to do that. And now they're watching you guys live their dreams vicariously. Like, you guys have sort of set the path for something that they potentially could do down the track. And there's a lot of AFL/sports creators now in Australia. And I would say when it comes to like that kind of jokingly taking the piss, but at the same time taking it serious, you guys set the foundations.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the industry that are good, but yeah, no, definitely. It's been like, I love getting out to like the junior clubs, and like even in Adelaide, our junior club, we would just like, I went back the other week and just rocking up to the club to just catch up with mates and seeing all the juniors' heads turn. And I'm like, what the hell? I've been doing this for years. I've come to training every week for like 10 years. No, I didn't actually. That's a lie. But, you know, like, but like, you know, you rock up to your local footy club and like, no one cares who you are. But like, I rock up and they're like, oh my God, I need his autograph, I need his photo. And I'm like, this is my local footy club. Like, yeah, it's crazy seeing that influence you can have. It's like an AFL player who's rolled into the club.
Is the AFL supportive with you guys?
Yeah, we've done some stuff for the AFL. A lot of the clubs are the best support. So the AFL is like a massive organisation, probably, you know, bigger fish to fry. But the clubs have been great. So a lot of the clubs hit us up for like little bits and pieces. So yeah.
What's the future look like for Marmalade and DJ Checkers, two separate entities?
I don't know. It's weird progression because I was at that like 10-year mark of my DJing career and was ready to just toss it in and thought content's going to take over, and then people now want to book us for appearances and shit.
Yeah.
In nightclubs. So we're doing a few of them lately. That's a funny one. Where I was like, haven't made music in a year, haven't really been doing gigs. Like I used to do like 5 gigs a week in Adelaide. I haven't done a gig for like 5 months at times. I was like, we're done, we're washed. And then clubs were like, want you to just rock up for 10 minutes and just shake hands. So that was a weird progression. But no, I don't know. Just keep seeing where it goes. It's such a short span industry where like you can be big 1 week and not big 3 weeks later. So you just got to keep grinding at it. You can't really make massive plans because then you can disappear for such a long period of time.
It's like a hamster wheel. That's what I said to someone the other day. I'm like, I'm on this hamster wheel. Like, you're killing it. But I'm like, in my head, I'm looking at my video beforehand and that did 35 and the next one does 350. And it's like, if I do a video that does 500,000, then I get a rest for a week. But then if I have a couple of videos that don't do that well, it's like, it's fucked.
Yeah. It's like just an everyday thing. Like, I don't have a job, but I have a job. Like every morning I wake up, it's like, all right, what can I do today? What editing I got to do? What filming can I do? Like, you know, from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, it's not like a clock in, clock out. It's like, all right, I'm out at dinner. Is that an angle I can use? Or, you know, like,
man, like doing it myself personally, I would say it's as hard. Yeah, like as a normal job. Like, you know, I work my normal job, I got hours, whatever. Work in promotion. Promotion is very similar to content in my opinion. But I'm much the same. Like, fuck, today I've got to think of something this week. And then someone might invite me to a podcast or do whatever. And I'm like, sweet, that means I don't have to do anything that day. And then don't do anything that day. But it's like, you're sort of building for, you don't even really know what. Yeah, like
you don't know what you're building towards. Yeah.
You're building for opportunity.
If you're building an event as a DJ promoter, you're like, oh, I'm building towards getting this crowd here for this event and making this much money. But when you're building your content, it's like, what's the end goal? I don't know. It just changes every day. So it's just about keeping busy, trying to do as much as I can. And it's similar to about marketing promotions where like I'm sure you'd have been rattling your brain all night. Like, all right, this guy, is he any good to book? Or, do I need more promoters? Or do I need more visuals? Do I need better posters? Where's the graphics at? And it's not like a 9 to 5. It's like a 3 a.m. Like, fuck, I got to do this.
100%.
And it's very similar with content is like, yeah.
Or even other ones you have like these giant grand plans of doing something. You'd be like, how the fuck am I going to, that's probably like a 5-day thing. How am I going to fit that in with my current stuff? Like it's super difficult. I think it's undervalued how hard being a content creator, building content daily, which you guys are doing sometimes bi-daily. I watch your stuff. It's very undervalued how hard it is.
Yeah. The best thing that we've got to though is like it's a stress-free environment in that sense. Like I meet a lot of like content creators and they get really stressed on those plays. Like you said, like, oh, fuck, I did 100K last week, but this one's done 10K. What's the problem with the algorithm? What's the problem with the video? And they stress so hard about it. And I like to have that like mindset of like, it's just tomorrow's another day and we'll just make more content. Like, if it flopped today, then we'll just fix it up tomorrow. Like, you know, but I see some blokes who get really like stressed, anxious, really in deep on it and like, oh, fuck, I got to do more today because I didn't do anything yesterday. And I'm like, just people like such a short span industry where people don't like, care that much.
I just say to people, just keep creating. Yeah. And then I say the algorithm is actually your friend. If you do a shit video, no one sees it. That's a good thing. Yeah, like if you do a good video, everyone sees it. So I'm like, don't fucking worry about the ones that aren't good. Just worry about the ones that do well.
Yeah. Oh, you always make shit videos. We do. And then you get rinsed for a bit. And then you're like, all right, we'll just keep grinding until people
you find something to just continue on. You're like, let's push on it.
Yeah.
You did get booked recently for a gig at Billboard, I believe.
Yeah.
That I set you guys down for.
Yeah.
With the Misfit Mind.
It was actually crazy how much we get recognized for that now. So like,
really? We
get recognized for all weird stuff. So like sometimes we get recognized like, oh, you're the DJ guy. Sometimes we get recognized, oh, you're Shrey, you did the coin toss. You guys are the Div 12 Resi's guys. And then now people come to like, I've been like at Vic Gardens just shopping and people will like come like, you're the guy that fucking licked the coffin. But in the rarest of situations, like I've been back in Adelaide and like my family, like extended family, like, oh, I saw the coffin video. Or we've been out at like big shoots, like did a TV shoot the other week and the producer was like, oh, I saw the coffin video. But I don't know who you guys are. Like, what's your thing? I've just seen the coffin video.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, it's been crazy, the weird spread that's got. The Misfit Boys got some crazy followers and like attention.
Yeah, actually some crazy
I'm sure you would have been similar. You would have got some real...
I am. I hate, which sounds weird because it's sort of my main platform, but people are like, TikTok guy. I'm like, fuck, come on. So
but
like
the Misfit Minds, like, do you get like people when you go out to like lunch or whatever, they'll be like...
Not really, no. Like I've been in a different space there. Like I've had people, for whatever reason, which sounds strange, and I think it's to do with grog, like I'm very loosely was involved with those dudes. But because of that, a lot of that kind of audience that I would say like they share have already kind of knew who I was. Does that make sense? So not even sure how, but I'd get a lot of those guys that look like, they play a lot of video games. They would kind of come up to me and be like, oh, can I get a photo or whatever like that. So when the Misfit Minds things, everyone comments on it. Like everyone's seen it. But I would say I haven't really had anyone come up and just be like, you're that guy from Misfit Minds. Yes.
True.
Yeah. But it was it's a scary space to play in that one. So like I like because originally you were gonna get stitched up completely.
Yeah.
And then and Trey decided, or Nick decided, like Chucky Dan, gotta say he's fucking all three names. He decided that it would be easier if you were involved in it. So but yeah, that to me was so nerve-wracking. I don't know how those guys do that week in, week out.
It's pretty crazy. We love them. Like I don't watch a lot of content because I find I get like a bit of imposter syndrome or like a bit like start copying people's trends if I watch too much. So I try to stay off a lot of the content. Shrey watches heaps and works good because he tells me what's good and what's not, and then I can bounce off him. But I would watch like minimal TikTok, minimal YouTube. But the one people we do watch is like Misfits. Like we don't turn our TV on for anything but footy and Misfit Minds videos. So that's it. So like the boy, like I knew as soon as we got hit up, I was like, if it was something else and like it involved like bikies, it was originally going to involve like drugs. And I was like, this is really not off brand. Funeral, like the prank. I was like, I don't really want to stitch Shrey and Will up too much. But I was like, I know that they're going to froth the fact that it's a Misfit video because like,
no shit.
It's like being in your idol's like video, like, So yeah, it was, they were stoked at the end of the day for that.
Yeah, not like, Will, man, he was shaking.
Yeah, but I was like, if it was anyone else, I don't think we would have done it. But it was just because it was Misfit Boys. We find them so funny and like naturally funny.
Yeah, they're good. They're so funny. And in real life, they're funny too.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing that's happened so far in the Marmalade journey? Is there like a one pivotal point where you're like, this is not real?
It's every day, but no, I don't know. Our first one, because it's too hard to pinpoint one exactly. Like we've had some crazy moments where I'm like, this is just crooked. But our first one was, we did this year-long campaign to try get Gil McLaughlin to kick a torp. So it was like towards the end of that torp, kicking footies over buildings era. It was like, Gil was the CEO of the AFL. And I've got the tattoo here, but I can't get my pants up, but I'll show you a picture, whatever. And it says, Gil, please kick a torp. Like we did this crazy year-long campaign. Like the election was on that year, and we went to like electoral polls and like took like Gil signs, like vote for Gil to kick a torp, and we're like going to games and doing all sorts. Slept out at AFL house, and then it finally happened. And this is like our first collab with the AFL. First like real, we flew into state for it. Like we flew to Melbourne for this video. At that time, we were just in Adelaide kicking footies over buildings. So it was like, whoa, this is like massive. Like, and it was one where widespread, like all my mates saw it. But we flew to Melbourne, went on the MCG the day before the grand final and kicked torps with Gil. And at that point, I was like, I've never been on the MCG, never really been on an AFL stadium. I'm working with the AFL. I was getting posted to their channel the day before the grand final. Robbie Williams in the background doing his warm up. And I was like, that was one of the surreal ones where I was like, everything around me was just buzzing. Like I couldn't remember anything. And it was like, just like blur. Like I was like, everything's blurring right now. Like this isn't real.
That's mad. I love that.
But the one thing I will say about that blur is like, it happens a lot when you have those big moments. But the one thing I've learned and been taught and is like, when you do get those moments, like pick things out so you remember it really vividly.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
We did the Fox Footy longest kick last year, and that was pretty cool because I watch it every year on TV, especially like working in sports bars and stuff. It's such a pivotal point of the grand final. And I remember standing on the stage and like picking out things after someone told us beforehand, like make sure you take things in because otherwise you won't remember them and you'll just have your photos and that's it. So yeah, I really took a like notice of like who was in the front row, where people were at certain points in the day, and then like I can remember it all really like clear, and it's such like a good memory.
And the other one, so as more crazy shit happens, it becomes more and more normal. So then you got to sit there, and I always do this thing where I try to imagine myself at 16. So I'll be like, I'm saying backstage with some massive artist like Skrillex, and I get to meet him, which has actually happened. But I'm like, in my head afterwards, I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever, move on. And then I've got to sit there and go, okay, at 16 years old, imagine you're fucking backstage at this massive festival and you meet the headliner artist and you shake their hand, and then I'm like, fuck, yeah. Like that's how I blow things up in my own head. Yeah. Because you got to like sit there and take back in these moments. Otherwise, what's the point,
We're lucky that like everyone's got phone cameras now and stuff, that everything's, especially making content, every fucking centimeter of my life's captured. But that like, remembering back to Gil, I was like, oh fuck, I've only got my phone footage because everything was blurring out, and I like came away with that. We're like, did that just happen? Like, what happened there? What the fuck's going on? Like,
Man, I do it with events. Sometimes I watch it back and I'm like, fuck yeah, but I get excited after because I don't remember as it's going on.
Yeah, watching the footage back. But yeah, those moments, like, they happen from time to time, especially like making content.
Totally.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. That's a really wicked point to finish up. Lastly, I've got to thank my sponsors, none other than my own brand, WP Shots. You can buy this at Liquorland, First Choice Liquor, all good independents around Australia. All my latest sponsor, AAA Digital. If you're looking to escalate your events, your festivals, or hospitality business, hit them up. And lastly, thank you so much, Sheckers, for coming down today. That was a fucking great yarn. Thanks. A lot of information that people no doubt didn't know. And I guess from my end, man, just keep kicking those fucking footies over nightclubs.
Try our best.
Legend, bro. Thank you so much.
Cheers.